All right. Now I think of presenting this subject to you is really simply a review. But we can reflect on it, you know? It's the resurrection of the dead. Wow. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, one moment I'll be alive, and then the next minute I'll be dead, and then boom, I'm alive again. Wow, that's
Ray, this is a very good teaching, and uh, it's something that we need to reflect on a daily basis so we really truly understand what a hope we have and what Christ has done for us and what
mm.
our position is now as kingdom people and how we are to live our life, on a daily basis. Yeah, this is relevant every day for us as kingdom citizens. So good job, Ray. Thanks.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And yes, I completely agree with you. Dan, you have your hand raised and you're muted.
Okay, I was just going to say thank you. Thank you. I just can't get enough hearing about the resurrection. It just brings me right back and anchors me. And what is this all about? I love that one verse, fervently love one another from the heart. You said that, and it's just like, it's just we got to keep that in front of our face. And when you were talking about baptism and baptism being used as a euphemism or a metaphor for something else, I was even thinking the phrase baptism of fire. Nobody's really baptized in fire. It's a phraseology, meaning you went through a trial, a difficult situation. So yeah, I think you're spot on. Really appreciate it, bro.
Well, thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's in every situation that we are to fervently love one another, not just when we're in agreement, but all the time. And it's just so important to because we're stuck with one another, okay? Think of it that way. We're all stuck with one another. And so we should you know, all love each other. All think consciously of how do I bless this person? And there are different ways, and sometimes you have to talk real, to the point. You have to not mince words. You have to get plain with them. And Paul does that in First Corinthians a lot. He says, throw that one bugger out, throw him out of the church, send him to Satan. So it's not always, peaches and cream. But other times, the vast majority of the time, we need to think about how the other person is going to receive from us. And I have to think about that a lot with my wife and daughter because I'll hear about it, man. And rightfully so. They're usually right and I'm usually wrong. But anyway, I'm so glad this is recorded. So anyway, does
No,
anybody
it's
else have
good.
any comments?
Yeah, I just thought about that. There's an old expression, and it is an old expression. I don't even know if people even talk this way anymore. But I'm in my 70s too, so not an old geezer. I hope I live into my 90s, but who knows? Okay, on to the statement, Donna, on to the statement. Walk a mile in my moccasins before you judge me.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
another expression is, the pebble in my foot, the pebble in my shoe,
yeah,
maybe you see me limping and, struggling, and it's because I have an issue,
yeah,
that needs to be taken seriously or needs to be grappled with or to be understood or to be healed or just, please understand me. What's wrong with that? We're all so different in our personality. We're all working towards that relationship with Christ and with one another. And sometimes it's a struggle because, we're all, I'm not always lovely. Sometimes I have to go back and go, Marsha, I am really sorry that I lost my mind and I yelled at you, like, please forgive me for and I really have to let her know, take that time to let her know you didn't do anything to deserve this. This is me, acting whacked, and I apologize. I don't want to be abusive to you. And I really have to take the time to break it down to send that message to heal her. I mean, take the time, to do that if you've made a mistake or you don't know what, and I often don't know. I misunderstand people a lot because I don't know their personality or their phraseology. And sometimes I have to grapple with, I don't understand them, God, but I'm trying, want to understand. And, we just have to make ourselves clear. I always say, just keep talking to me. Don't give up on me. Keep talking to me. Be in relationship with, we'll figure it out. We will figure it out. If we want to, we will figure each other out and we can walk side by side. We can.
Susan, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say something about resurrection. I'm trying to remember what my thought was, but just in terms of like just having compassion and clothing ourselves with love. We've been reading a lot about First Corinthians because Sean Finnegan's doing a whole big deep dive into First Corinthians, which has been great. And in chapter 6, he talks about, to stop bickering because don't you know we're going to judge angels. And Lee and I talked about this not that long ago, just this idea that, I mean, if we're going to have the responsibility of judging people, all the millions who come back in the resurrection, and we're going to be trained, I guess, have this job to be judges and to mediate between people and to expound the law. I mean, you're a lawyer, right? So the idea of like having to expound the law to people and tell them like, this is the program, you have to get with the program. This is Jesus's government, not, yours. All the nations are going to be brought before him. Micah and Isaiah both say, the nations will stream to the mountain of Zion, the house of the Lord, and instruction will go forth. And they'll have to learn how to beat their swords into plowshares and spears and pruning hooks or whatever. And so, this is this process that we're going to be held responsible to rule with Jesus and to judge alongside him. And Paul is saying, don't you understand? Like, we're going to even judge angels. If that's the case, like, why are we bickering and not getting along now? I feel like, all of this community stuff, God is just trying to teach us that we have to start learning these skills. These are not just skills to get through this life, until we die and then we get to like go to heaven and play a harp and sit on a cloud and it's all good. That's really not the picture that the Bible paints. It's like we are starting now to learn the principles of the kingdom. And even though we fail miserably a lot and make mistakes, we have all this instruction, that's about showing grace and forgiveness and kindness toward one another. If we can't work that stuff out now, it's going to be so much harder for us later. So, we're already in that, like, call it Earth School 101. We're being taught like what it really means to be a human and in pleasing in the eyes of God. And, we have a long way to go. I mean, I speak for myself. I take 2 steps forward and 7 steps back, and I just keep getting up, dusting myself off and moving forward. But, I think we all have to be really humble to let the Spirit work in us to make us, to transform us gradually. And if we resist that, it just makes our lessons harder. That's all.
No, I understand. And I think it was Dustin Smith used to say that we're in school to rule. And
Yeah.
so anyway, well, thank you. Thank you for that, Susan. And I completely agree that I know I have a long ways to go myself. And fortunately, I have a wife and daughter who are constantly monitoring me and will remind me without hesitation
Yeah,
where I
that's a good
fail.
thing and a bad thing, right?
So I'm very blessed by that. Now, Steve and Phyllis, go ahead. You got your hands raised.
I just had just a comment. I was thinking about the place of resurrection, what it really means. We look back in the Old Testament, it's things where you can tell it might mean something about resurrection, but it's not something that was gone in really taught in the not they knew about resurrection, but it being taught, it wasn't clear like that. Even when doing Jesus' earthly ministry, he was teaching the kingdom, but even he really wasn't teaching death, burial, and resurrection at that time, even though to his disciples, those closest to him, he would tell them some things, but they didn't quite understand,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
he told them they would have to be endued with power. The spirit would help them, but they really didn't get it at that time. And then I was thinking about when we were studying Sunday in the book of Acts, and it
Mm.
talked about how when Jesus rose and he spent 40 days among them, it said teaching things about the kingdom of God. Well, I was saying, I wonder what he was telling them. Was he going over all the things he had taught them before? But the fact that he was risen and standing right there with them then, just like he cleared up things about the kingdom to the Jews. It wasn't about Rome. It was bigger than that. I think and then from this point on, we hear about resurrection. Paul is talking resurrection. Peter's talking resurrection. Uh, did he begin teaching them just by his very presence when they knew he had been crucified? How the I don't even know how to put it. The place of the resurrection really became like such a cornerstone when it comes to the kingdom of God, uh, and all that's included into that. It
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's the point I was trying to make,
yeah,
is that the resurrection really is the cornerstone of our faith.
mhm,
And like Paul said, if there's no resurrection, let's just eat and drink and
yeah,
party, you know.
yeah, yeah,
But we are convinced because God has touched our lives in some way or another, each one of us individually. And so we are committed to the resurrection. We're committed to that idea, to that cause, and to let other people know about it too. To all those who are watching this on YouTube, thank you for watching and God bless.